Hey everyone, Brian Beeler coming to you from the Storage Review Lab. And today we've got an interesting demo for a company called Leostream. And Leostream is a major player in the desktop space, well, remote desktop space. And I was just out at AWS reInvent, and one of the really big themes at that show was how to enable remote workforces, how to get, if you're an organization, your remote workforce online, how you're getting new hires online, how are endpoints working, all sorts of other stuff. And Leostream, as I said, is a major player in helping organizations bridge the gap between either on-prem infrastructure or cloud infrastructure, or in many cases, hybrid infrastructure to deliver desktops to the workforce. And this is a really fundamental thing. This has got to work well. It's got to be seamless and fast and easy, because employees these days have a high expectation of what they get from their desktop, whether it's a Mac like this, or it's a Mac running a thin OS, or if it's a true thin client or something else. Whatever it is, it's got to work, it's got to be reliable, it's got to be easy. So we've done a lot of work with Leostream recently. We did a project using Leostream with AWS, and we deployed 100 desktops in just a few minutes. That was really cool. That's a little bit showy. So to talk about the showmanship, I brought in my good friend Tom Fenton. Tom, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Glad to be here. And just kind of building on what you said about Leostream, we really like working with these guys. Whenever I get in a new thin client to test, I always reach out to them because they support. I mean, they're agnostic. They support whatever protocol we have. We can have, totally niche protocols, and yep, we support it. And so they're just a great company to work with. So I was really glad to be on this paper with them.
Well, absolutely. I mean, a ton of support, easy to use, which I've already said probably 3 times, but it's really important to understand that, because these infrastructures aren't always easy, and when you're integrating with the cloud, it can be trickier. In our work with AWS, what stood out to you in terms of something to look out for in an integration with a cloud provider?
You know, it just kind of worked. I had an existing AWS account we used for another project. I had a few little tweaks in there, and I reached out to Leostream, and they just got online. They knew exactly where I messed up, and they helped me correct it. And I mean, it just worked. And like I said, went out for a cup of coffee. By the time came back, we had 100 desktops up and ready to go.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And actually, you hit on another point that's really interesting. Leostream's not, I mean, they're a good sized company, but they're not some massive conglomerate that's cumbersome and steeped in legacy software. These guys are really dynamic, and it's not just us. Their customers will tell you too. They'll hop on the phone at any time to help resolve problems. So that's a big deal. And rather than you and I talk about Leostream, why don't we bring in our good friend Vlad from Leostream. Vlad, thanks for coming in and joining us in this demo today. You heard Tom and I talk a little bit about the company. What at a high level did we miss? What should everyone else know about Leostream?
Brian, Tom, thank you for having me. You guys are making me blush. You said so many positive things. I think you nailed most of it, and I was writing down notes, and you hit all the points that I wanted to hit. You're correct. We're fast. We're seamless. We're easy. And most importantly, we're also cost effective, right? So when you're deploying in the cloud, a lot of organizations may be hesitant to do so because of the different compute costs. And that's where Leostream really steps in, is that regardless if it is AWS or another cloud provider, we can really help lower those costs and make the transition into a cloud environment very easy.
Well, so that's an important point, and I know we're going to focus on the demo today with cloud being the back end here, but how are you helping organizations sort out, what do I do on-prem, what do I do in the cloud, or why do I want to do it in the cloud or hybrid? Like what's that decision tree look like from your point of view?
So a lot of customers, if they already have the hardware on-prem to spin up these different VDI resources, a lot of times they want to use that infrastructure, right? But there are times and points where, whether it's through employee growth or for other reasons, whether they need a more high-powered machine, they'll look towards the cloud to increase their capacity without actually having to buy hardware. As we all know, hardware shortages have made it very difficult to procure those things. And that's where Leostream steps in, is we can leverage your on-prem environment, we can spin up the resources that you're looking to connect to, and at the point that you reach capacity, we can easily fail over to the cloud and start spinning up those VDI instances there. And to the end user, we make that all very seamless. They're logging into the same portal. It looks like the same machine. They press the same connect button, but in the background, a lot of magic is taking place for them to actually end up connecting to that desktop.
Okay, well, let's just get into it, because I think that's what everyone wants to see.
Sure.
How do we do this thing? So let's switch over here to the share. Now, if I'm an organization considering the cloud and want to see how Leostream can get me there, let's get through that. What does this look like?
Sure. So I'll start off with just showing from an end user experience what that looks like. In this case, I have an on-prem environment. I'm saying that my capacity is 1 VM, and I'm going to start connecting to that machine. The Leostream connection broker not only can just connect to machines, but we also have power control. So users are able to actually start up their own desktops. And you'll see here that we will update the user with this very beautiful graphic saying we're starting that desktop. And as soon as we get a notification from the agent on that machine, we'll connect them to the desktop with the desired protocol. In this case, and what you guys used for your storage review article, we're going to use the HTML5 viewer. A lot of customers love that. It's very seamless. It's in the browser. It doesn't require any additional clicks. It just happens. It opens up in a new tab. So while this is starting up, Leostream is doing a bunch of stuff in the background to verify that the machine is available. And eventually, once that machine has powered on, we will connect. You can see that a new tab opens up. We're going through an on-prem Leostream gateway, and all very seamlessly, we are getting connected to our desktop. Now presents the new situation where, okay, well, we've reached our, in this case, 1 desktop max capacity limit. So how
Right.
are we going to then scale this up to AWS? Well, the way I've set up my policy is to say, if for some reason I can't offer a desktop from this on-prem pool, we're going to start offering a backup pool. So I'm going to log into my Leostream account, which is just a shared account. And you'll notice that instead of being offered a VMware pool, I'm being offered an AWS pool. And so same exact thing, I'm going to press connect. It's going to do the same thing we did with VMware, but this time we're going to be using AWS API integration to power on the machine. And when the agent finally responds back saying, hey, I'm online, you'll see that, again, we'll open up a new tab, but this time for a new machine.
So is that a pretty common use case for your customers then, where they're using the cloud as a burst or as a backup for local infrastructure?
A lot of customers typically have cloud resources available for very specific needs. We work very heavily in the media entertainment space, so a lot of the times the cloud's used for those high-powered machines that users need to connect to remotely, and especially like during COVID when all of this remote activity was occurring. They need to find a way to get users connected to these high-powered machines, and users couldn't just walk into their edit bays like they normally could. And so with Leostream, we can spin up these high-powered graphic enabled machines in AWS. And because we have this power control, organizations would much rather go in that direction rather than purchasing this hardware and keeping it on-prem. And because we're able to save them money in the cloud, it just makes way more sense for those customers. We do have some customers that use this sort of burst workflow where if on-prem resources run out, they spin up some sort of cloud desktop. But we've seen it all. We've seen it all.
Okay.
And so there you have it. This is the AWS desktop. And like I mentioned, we have the power control plan. So as soon as I disconnect, in both cases, when I disconnect these machines, the agent will send a notification to our Leostream connection broker, and the connection broker will then take power action on that machine. So in this case, I said, hey, if I disconnect from the machine, just immediately power it down. And that's where the cost savings comes in. You don't need to have any sort of manual intervention in your AWS console to power off these machines. We'll do it for you.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you made, because when we first started this project, me and Brian were talking. To be honest, I didn't want to get hit with a big AWS bill at the end of this project.
Right.
I have to present it to you, but I mean, it came out really considerably under budget for the 2 weeks that we kind of used it. So that was nice.
Awesome. And you're going to see in a few seconds that now I'm being actually offered my on-prem resource because the other user, disconnected and we powered off. So now it's available for somebody else. And we can kind of, switch between those two infrastructures depending on the demand.
Yeah. So if you have a bunch of servers that aren't being utilized, maybe they've already been depreciated, blah blah blah. You can just set up those and use them till all those resources are gone. And then
Right.
cloud resources can be kind of spendy if you don't
Right.
use them judiciously, and so it makes sense.
Absolutely. And, this is just a simple, deployment where we have an on-prem server and one region in AWS. But if you really wanted to, you can take advantage of other AWS services like Route 53 and build a very redundant environment using multiple regions, having, VPC peering and a VPN gateway back to your on-prem network. And in that case, even if a region goes down, which, for example, the other week we saw that US East 1 was having problems, you can then deploy instances in a different region, and it all seems very seamless to the end user.
Right. And another thing is you guys don't really have any bias towards instances in staying with
Nope.
your agnostic approach. So if you
Right.
have someone who needs a GPU with 128, gig of RAM,
Right.
you could do that as well. And as
Not
opposed
a
to going
problem.
out and buying that machine for Brian, with some numbers for what would that be with a GPU? We're talking,
Oh,
10, 20 grand, right?
it depends on what you throw in there for sure, but yeah, the GPU costs can be excruciating these days, especially some of those data scientist ones that
Hmm.
even a T4 that's a little long in the tooth now is still 1200-1400 bucks on eBay, and that's an older one. But yes, you can spend a lot of money on those GPUs.
Yes, you can.
Hey, so Vlad, you did the little desktop demo. Do you want to do anything on the nuts and bolts behind the scenes?
Sure. Well, let me just go to the policies here. So I named it honoring you guys, the storage review policy. And it's a fairly simple setup. I have a setting enabled to launch the HTML5 viewer in a separate tab. And then I have my one pool assignment. And so if I go into this pool assignment, and I'll discuss how I defined this pool previously, it's saying that I'm going to be offering a single desktop from this VMware provisioning pool. And I have a backup pool called the AWS Windows PCRIP pool. I know I used RDP, but as we mentioned, Leostream is very flexible and vendor agnostic. We support a ton of different protocols.
Yeah,
And this is, go ahead.
we used nice DCV. That's Amazon's, and it works
Yep.
out really slick. That's a yeah.
Yeah, the
Well,
nice DCV integration is really nice because AWS has already set up the DCV server on the machines and in the correct way, so that you just need a Leostream agent on the machine, and we just make that session happen.
yeah.
So, like I mentioned, this policy, this pool assignment, the primary pool is going to be my VMware provisioning pool, and I'm saying to offer this backup pool in the case that there are no desktops available in the VMware provisioning pool. We can also say if the agent is unreachable. So, if the instances are on and would normally be offered to an end user, we can just say, hey, for some reason we've lost network connectivity. We're going to assume that this desktop is not a desktop that the user can connect to. So I'm going to fail over to AWS. And that's the basics of it. That's how you set up the pool and backup pool. And then now you just need to define your different plans. So in Leostream, we have a few plans. We have protocol plans, power control plans, and release plans. So your protocol plans are going to dictate to the end user what protocol are you using, and are you going through a Leostream gateway? In this case, I have an RDP HTML5 protocol that's pointing at a Leostream gateway located on-prem. For power control, I just copy the AWS power control because that power control plan just says, hey, if a user disconnects, I want to power off the machine. And my default release plan also it logs the user out immediately and disconnects the user, has some sort of inactivity monitor as well. So if a user's on their desktop and they're not doing anything, we don't want them to take up compute costs. You can go ahead and try connecting at some other point. We're going to disconnect you for now. Somebody else can use this. And then for my backup pool, I'm defining the same plans, but this time for my AWS desktop. So my protocol plan is going to switch to an HTML5 RDP plan with an AWS gateway. And then my backup pool power control plan is going to be the same with the same release plan.
He talked about availability, and I know that's not exactly what you're looking at right here, but we can't sort of ignore the outages that have been occurring in the cloud the last couple of weeks. It seems like we go through these cycles. If I've got my desktop in the cloud and the cloud goes away, or my region goes away, or some service goes away, what is there anything Leo can do to help with that, mitigate that concern?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we recommend is having the Leostream gateway be located in the same, like in Amazon's case, since we're using AWS, in the same VPC as your VDI instances. So in the case that a Leostream, or sorry, a region has networking issues or the connectivity problems, like an outage that AWS had the other week, you can use a solution like Route 53, which has health checks. And what Route 53 will do will be like, hey, I can't reach this Leostream gateway. I'm going to go try the next Leostream gateway in my list of servers that I have to try. And when you log in through a different gateway within Leostream, you can actually assign different policies. So based on location. So you can say, if I log in through this location, which is defined by my US East gateway, I'm going to offer a policy that has US East desktops. But if I log in through a location that's in, let's say, Northern California, and it goes through that Leostream gateway, I'm going to offer a policy that is specific for that region. It will offer desktops in that region. So that's how you can, at least within the same cloud, avoid outages in your different regions. Of course, you can also, because we are vendor agnostic, integrate Microsoft Azure or even Google Cloud Platform. It's all up to you and all up to the organization how they want to design their failover plan.
Well, that's good, because I guess that's a consideration. The cloud, as much as it's mostly available, it's not always available. So, Tom, what else do you think is worth taking a look at here from the management standpoint? Because I know you're waist deep into the Leostream tools. What did you like or want to point out as part of this?
Well, I think it just gets to the flexibility. For example, if you click on the pools there, you can, the user can choose the environment that they need to run in. If you got like you said, someone doing a lot of video editing, maybe they want a little bit more powerful desktop. But if they're just an office user, they can get it. Whether it's on, you can run this whole thing in the cloud. We ran it in the cloud without a single hardware device. Or we did another Leostream thing a year ago where we did it all on premise. Or you can do the mixture of the two. It is you guys are just so flexible.
Yeah, and you touch up on a good point that you ran the Leostream connection broker in the cloud. Not only can we fit into your failover and scalable environment with your desktops, but the Leostream platform itself is very scalable and is built for redundant design. So you can have multiple connection brokers in your different AWS regions, on-prem, in Azure, wherever you want. And as long as there's a central database that's managing this cluster of connection brokers, it doesn't matter if 1, 2, or 3 connection brokers goes down. If there's at least one that is available and online, we will be able to still proceed as normal.
Yeah, and so the neat thing, I think you were talking about this, Brian, a year and a half ago, people couldn't get machines, and even some people couldn't even get instances on one cloud provider, so they could go to the next cloud provider, or they could figure out which one's going to cost me the least amount of money. A lot of people talk about multi-cloud, right? But the reality is it's not that easy in a lot of things, but you guys kind of make it pretty easy.
That's
absolutely.
our goal.
Yeah.
So all that from a technical perspective is really cool. From a practical standpoint, do you have any big wins, any deployments you've done in the last pandemic or so that stand out as a good use case for what you guys do with AWS?
Yeah, I think there's one that sticks out to me, and think this happened just a few days ago. I'm sure everyone and their mother heard about the Log4 shell vulnerability, and that affected some protocols. And so we had a customer that was deployed in AWS, and they were dependent on this protocol. And they had Leostream support on the phone, they had that vendor's support on the phone, they had pretty much everybody that could possibly join the call. On that call, trying to figure out what the issue is. Of course, Leostream has figured out their side of the problem. It was just involved an upgrade. So that was resolved fairly quickly, but the protocol still had some issues. And so Again, this speaks to the power and flexibility of Leostream. They were able to quickly pivot and say, well, if we can't use this protocol, we're in AWS, let's switch over to DCV. And so having that flexibility allowed them to reduce the amount of downtime they had and quickly just say, okay, we're switching protocols. Leostream's already set up to do this. We just have to make a few adjustments on the platform, and all of a sudden users can connect. And that's just, I mean, that just speaks to the power of Leostream, I think.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And Tom, that's what you were just hitting on a few minutes ago. Protocols to for everything, and able to kind of do whatever you want, right?
Yep, absolutely. I tested with that LG that we had in that we did the review on a couple weeks ago. I had an HP client I connected in with. Just doesn't matter. You guys connect to it, yeah.
Yeah, or the HTML. I mean, there's so much going on. It makes it super easy. So, as with anything, the best way for customers or organizations to learn how to do this kind of thing is to go play with it themselves. Do you have some labs or a trial set up for this?
Yeah, so we do have a free trial page on our website. Visit leostream.com. On the top right, you'll see a little free trial button. Submit the form. Shoot us an email. We'll set up a call with you. And in the near future, we will have a demo environment that users don't even need to stand anything up. They can just access an instance and learn a little bit more about what we do.
All right. Well, we'll drop a link to the to that trial that you just described in the description of the video. So be sure to hit that if you want to. Go check out Leostream. I strongly encourage the trial. I know, Tom, you do too. I mean, it's a fantastic tool. Tom, parting thoughts?
Just a great product. Like I said, thanks for being one of the people we go to, and you guys are always there. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, agreed. Vlad, thanks
we appreciate you guys for being such awesome cheerleaders for the product. Can't say thanks enough.
Hey, we're happy to do it. You guys are happy to let us play and go have fun with it. So it's a great relationship. Appreciate it, and thanks again for doing the video today.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks.